Looking back at last night, really fired up about the performance of our team after going back and watching the tape. Thought we played really physical on both sides of the ball. The fact that going into the game, I was concerned about the negative runs that we were going to potentially have just because of their style of defense. They pride themselves on getting teams in second and long situations, and we had 0 negative runs last night, which is awesome to do against that team. Defensively, when you have 9 tackles for loss and 4 sacks like our defense had last night, that means you played physical and you controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball against a really good front 7 on their defense and a really good offensive line on their offense. So could not be more fired up about the physicality we played with along both sides of the line of scrimmage. We played clean football, very few penalties, a couple tough calls that went against us. Offensively, very few negative things that could beat yourself like we had last week. We had 1 drop, and I think we had 2 penalties on offense. So just a really clean football game, a physical football game. Going back and watching the tape, their quarterback played great, obviously, and we certainly helped him in a lot of ways, but he made some big-time throws last night without a doubt. So really, defensively, loved the way we played. Story of the game defensively was the number of explosive passes that we gave up, and nothing that's any cause to panic. There's some technique things that we've got to clean up. There's some assignment things that we got to clean up, and confident that we will. Defensively, our player of the game that we decided on as a staff after watching it was Boogie Huntley. Offensively, as a staff, we decided our players of the game were Spencer Rattler, Mario Anderson, and Xavier Leggett. Special teams-wise, it was Mitch Jeter, Brian Thomas, and Decarrion Joyner. Our offensive scout team player of the week was Mac Walters. Our special teams scout player of the week was Jamie and Risher. And our defensive scout team player of the week was Jaron Willis. Did a really nice job. So told our team today that, we played physical football. We played clean football. SEC wins are really hard to come by. That's a veteran team with a really good quarterback that we just beat. And, we played physical. We got better as the game went on. We dealt with adversity, and we were at our best in the fourth quarter. We made stops. We won the turnover battle. Just got to get the number of explosive passes that we gave up last night cleaned up and get a lot better. Proud of our run game. We did a nice job, offensive line, tight ends, running backs in the run game. We left a lot of yards out there going back and looking at the tape from a run game standpoint too. So good win, moving on. Practice tonight, got to get a whole lot better, but good win to build on and got to keep improving. Questions?
Hey, Shane, it's Dave. I was wondering if we could potentially get an injury update on Spalding and Fortune and perhaps Brown and Juice.
Yeah, everybody's fine. Juice, I would say, is doubtful this week, but we'll see. And everybody else is fine.
Shane, it's Colin. You talked about the offensive line making improvements and being better. Where have you seen maybe the most improvement offensive line-wise, and do you anticipate that being kind of the starting group moving forward?
We'll see. Trevon, Jacob Moore got banged up a little bit last night with a shoulder. He's fine, but Trevon, we were going to play him a lot anyway, and he played the majority of the game after he came in, I think, on the third series. So Trevon played really well, played really physical. Tree, did some nice things. Nick Gargiulo played really physical last night. Rashawn Lee had a better game. Wanamaker played the whole game at right tackle. Sidney Fugar is certainly in that mix. Jackson Hughes is a guy that's continuing to get healthy and get stronger. But improvement-wise, just when you have some continuity on the offensive line, those 5 guys all got to be on the same page. And we were a little bit of a revolving door for different reasons throughout August. And then early in the season, we're kind of getting settled down there. And I think they've done a great job of just, understanding picking up twists and movements and pressures and things like that. And then give credit to Spencer, too. He's done a really nice job of changing the play a couple times at the line of scrimmage to get us into some runs. We had a couple passes called last night that he saw the look and checked to a run and got us in some favorable plays. So just offensively, just in general, it's been more efficient.
Hey, Shane, it's Andrew. I just wanted to ask you about Mario Anderson because I know you're really happy about his performance last night. What's sort of that next step for Anderson as he continues to get maybe a bigger workload in that running back room?
Build on what he did last night. He did some really good things. He ran hard. He ran physical. I think he'll be the first to tell you he probably left a lot of yards out there. You know, he missed a couple cuts where maybe he didn't see the hole or let it. So it would be one thing. And then a couple times he's one-on-one with the safety, and the guy was able to get him down. So that's what I would say is just continuing to get more and more comfortable with his vision and making people miss. But he's done a really good job in pass pro and picking up blitzers. Some of our big plays last night in the passing game, he had some critical blitz pickups, which were huge for us.
Shane, it's Alan. Just one more on the injuries, because we haven't heard since August. Is there an update on Jalen Nichols long-term and how he's going through his rehab?
Nope. Same thing I told you guys before. Optimistic we might get him back at the end of the season, which would be November, but nothing beyond that.
Shane, Dave again. I mean, after cutting up the film and looking at the pass defense, I think you mentioned some technique things. What are some other things that came to mind, or was it just maybe one bad night and you guys are confident you'll be better next week?
I think it was certainly a bad night. You give Will Rogers credit. He's a big-time quarterback, as he's shown, and he made some elite throws last night. Certainly there's some things from a pass rush standpoint that we've got to put pressure on the quarterback and not allow him to sit back there all day. And a lot of it, to me, is we know we're thin back there. We don't have a ton of depth. I mean, the same five guys are basically playing every play throughout the night. Spalding comes in and gives us some depth, and then Judge Collier came in last night when OD got hurt, but it's primarily the same five. And, I've seen those guys make a ton of plays without a doubt throughout the year and going back to last year also. So I'm confident in that group. And again, we knew five for them was a really good receiver. Will Rogers is a really good quarterback. And certainly there's some plays where we just got beat, and that's going to happen with our style of defense. We play a lot of man coverage and get up in guys' faces, and sometimes they're going to win some. But then also when we're supposed to be doubling a slot receiver, we need to double a slot receiver and not have our eyes in the wrong spot and be late getting lined up and give up 70-yard touchdown passes when we're supposed to, get hands on a receiver at the line of scrimmage at the corner position to allow the safety time to get over the top. We need to get our hands on the receiver at the line of scrimmage and not just let him get a free release and put our safety in a bind for another explosive. So it's a lot of technique things, and overall, to me, it's the just attention to detail and the overall urgency, not just on Saturday nights, but the urgency that we need to practice with and prepare with during the week as well, because it shows up on Saturdays if you don't.
Saying it's Colin again.
Just wanted to ask about Mario again. Did you anticipate him getting that many carries, or were y'all just going with the hot hand at the running back position with the way he was going?
We knew we were going to get him more. We knew we were going to get all the running backs more carries going into last night. That we just needed to be stubborn and run the ball some more. And knew that Mario was going to get a bunch of carries last night along with DK. And then he got hot and we hung with him, and then we had the fumble, and we're never just going to take a guy out of a game because of a fumble. But DK had a series that was going to be his, and then he had the fumble, and that series was over. And then Mario got back in, and we just kind of finished it with him. But we feel good about all of our backs to carry on, and Mario and Juju, and I like the way DJ Braswell's practicing. He did some good things on special teams for us last night, and he continues to get better also.
And just to follow up on that real quick, is that more your call to keep with the hot hand, or is that more Coach Hardesty?
That's more Coach Hardesty. We meet on Saturday mornings as a staff, and we talk about a lot of different things, recruiting, weather, coin toss, whatever. But we also go around and we each position coach, I ask each position coach, how are you going to play the players tonight? So it's not a surprise. I'm well aware of what, Lonnie Teasley's thinking is on the offensive line going into the game, and Travian on the defensive line, and Torian at defensive back, and Justin at wide receiver, and Monterio at running back. And so I know what our plan is early in the game, but I was a, running backs coach for 5 years at Virginia Tech and 1 year at Mississippi State. So I've coached them before and understand that, when you get a guy that kind of gets in the game and gets rolling like Mario did last night, you want to, keep riding him as long as you can too.
And it's Colin, Spencer and Xavier off to maybe two of the better starts in program history. Does any part of what they've done surprise you? And what are some parts that maybe you weren't expecting that they've really, really impressed you on through these first four?
I wouldn't say surprise me, just because I know how talented both of them are, and I know how hard they work, and you see the way the way they work with each other and whatnot. So that part of it doesn't surprise me. With Xavier, it's just, to me, I don't know if it's a surprise, but it's just the fact that he's able to just continue week in, week out, be elite on special teams for us, be elite at wide receiver for us, be elite in games, be elite in practice. I mean, it's just feel like every team meeting that I'm in, I'm talking about Leggett, and just, it's no surprise because of the way he practices, and it's true. I mean, we talked to the team about it today. Caught that ball yesterday on that little shallow cross on the drive concept that we ran, the first touchdown, and he catches it and splits the safeties and runs for whatever yard touchdown it was. And he essentially had a play earlier in the week in practice where it wasn't even necessarily the same play, but he caught a pass that was like a 10 or 15-yard gain that most receivers are going to turn up for 5 yards, the whistle's going to blow, and they move on to the next play, and he puts his foot in the ground and runs 50 yards on the practice field. It's just what he does, and it shows up on Saturdays.
Shane, it's Hale. The linebacker rotation seemed like you guys were able to have, I guess, more of an actual rotation there. Is that kind of in line with what you're hoping for moving forward and divvying up snaps and handling workloads for those starters?
Absolutely. Thought Pup and Bam came in and did some good things last night. We need them to continue to come along to be able to take the workload off of Stone and Debo. Stone and Debo have to continue to improve. All four of those guys are playing special teams for us. So Clayton, I thought, did a great job of getting Pup in early, getting Bam in there throughout the game as well, where, both those guys ended up playing, around 20 plays, maybe a couple less, and kept Stone and Debo from having to play 70 or 80 like they were doing early in the season.
And Colin, one more, but I don't think Juju McDowell's played an offensive snap the last two games. Is that just rotation stuff, and what's maybe next for his game as he continues to move forward?
No, Juju's played on special teams last night, and he's certainly still in the running back mix. I think every game is different. The style of the game, the way the game goes, the things that we have called, stuff like that. But Juju is still a critical member of the team, critical player in the running back room, and just was the way the game went last night.
Shane, kind of a random question, but last week you had a between quarter interview right before a big third down play, and then last night was right before a big fourth down play. Is that distracting at all to you, or are you letting your assistants handle things going on at that point?
It's not ideal. It's something that we talked about in our head coaches meetings in Destin about media access and being a little bit more accessible during games. I think last night Cole or any reporter that I've dealt with, they're great about, keeping it short and sweet. It's during a TV timeout, and Lord knows the TV timeouts are long enough, so there's plenty of time in there. Last night was a little bit tough just because it was a critical situation, so it was one of those we talked a lot about it leading up to the interview on the headphones. I did the interview real quick and then got right back to discussing things and stuff like that as well. But, that's a little bit of a tough situation when you got a critical play coming up like we did, but we managed it.